Rob, it's great to have you. It's been a little bit of a challenge to get you on here, but it's okay. So I've gotten to know Rob probably for the last year or so, I
Yeah,
think. Yeah, and we connected back and forth. You're part of the Podcasters Hub, and that's where we've been growing our relationship a lot. And I
yeah,
know that you have a podcast, and obviously I have one too, and that's why you're here. But um, you have a lot of stuff going on. You built something and it's growing and evolving along the way. And I know you started for a reason, but let's just begin with who is Rob and what are you most excited about right now?
yeah. Well, just a simple person. The thing behind me, the piano, that was my life. That and creating cakes.
Hmm.
My wife took me to see the cake boss when he came to town,
Okay.
and I bought his book, and it exploded into a side business that I didn't know was going to come. But I
Uh,
had to give that up because eventually, down the road, I ended up getting a brain injury, and the stress and the anxiety that comes with all that, just couldn't do it anymore.
hmm. So what are you most excited about right now then?
Right now, I'm very excited because as much as I've had my hands in the last 2 years ish, um, I sat down one day and I said, I want to write a song. I want it to be based on my life because everything right now revolves around my brain injury. So I just started writing, and in 2 days I had my life rewired this song.
Yes.
So it hasn't been published yet because I'm going to copyright it. After I copyright it and record it myself with my voice, I'm going to publish it, and who
Nice.
knows?
Now
That's
is
my passion.
now is that part of the beginning you just changed on your podcast? Is that
Yeah,
okay? All right,
yeah.
because I saw that.
That's just a little snippet of the song, and
Gotcha.
I got an AI guy to sing the words for me. But I went to copyright it, and I found out that I can copyright my lyrics, but I can't copyright the music because it was created with AI.
Mm,
A certain percentage of it has to be your hands on it.
really?
So I have a guy that's taking that melody and making some changes to it so I can publish it.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. I enjoyed what I heard of it. So I mean, I couldn't imagine what the rest of the song is like,
Yeah,
but yeah, it sounds pretty cool and it's good for the podcast too. So you just shared a little bit. You had a brain injury, and that kind of got you started on this
right.
path, I believe.
Hmm.
So can you go back in time and like a little bit before that, and then what happened, and then how you got through it?
Yeah, yeah. So I was just working one day, and every day I go out and I feed my fish at the same time every day, clockwork. And I went out to feed the fish, and as I was coming back in the door, a bee flew by my head, and I'm severely allergic to bees. So as I was opening the door, when it flew by, I freaked out and I bent over as so I don't know how hard it hit, but I hit hard enough that the closer that
Yes.
closes the door,
Yes.
it bent that.
Oh.
That's how hard I hit it. And I blacked out, and when I came to, I was holding my head, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have such a bad knot on my head." Well, that was completely not what happened because when I took my head away, I saw all this blood, and I'm like, "Oh crap." And that's when I like, well, really, I thought I was gonna die. That was my first thought was this is the end of Rob. But come to find out, I actually did myself a favor by cutting my head open because if not, I would have probably had a very massive internal bleed, and that would have probably ended me. So the neurologist told me that even though it was pretty bad, I actually did myself a favor by cutting it open that way it could bleed out.
Mm, interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, my wife, got me to the hospital, and it was just when COVID started and they weren't letting people go back with you. And that was my fear because I was like, can't do this myself. But they had to wheel me in because I couldn't walk at that point. So they're trying to ask me questions at the triage. And I think the only thing I got right was my name. I
Okay.
couldn't give them my date of birth, nothing. So when my wife came in to tell them that, hey, they just took my husband back, they like, come on, he doesn't know anything. So That actually turned out to be a blessing because I don't know what I would have done without her being by my side.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you're back in the ER. Is that where you were?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what happened after all that?
They immediately took me back. I was expecting like a 6 hour wait, which is typical nowadays when you go to the ER. But apparently with a head wound, they take that seriously. So
Okay.
they rushed me back and they did the MRIs and the all the gamut, the things that they do for you. And then a lady comes in and she proceeded to, we're going to staple your head. They're like, oh, okay. I thought I was going to get stitches, but no, they don't do stitches for a brain injury, for a head wound.
Mm.
Um, so they said, well, first we're going to numb you. And the numb, let me tell you, it feels like the fires from hell when they stick those needles in your head. And it didn't work. So
No.
they're like, well, we'll do it again. And I said, no, you will not. I said, do what you got to do. So 5 staples later, I'm laying there almost passing out because the pain was just so intense.
Hmm.
And of course, the only thing that was on my mind was checking in with my boss because that was my biggest worry was I got to let my boss know what's going on. And my wife's like, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. I'm like, no, just text her and let her know how we're doing. Typical male response, I think.
Right.
So yeah, I left the hospital with a massive headache, and I thought, well, this will be my life for a couple of days. And here we are 5 years later, and I still have that massive headache. It just doesn't go away.
Mm. And they said it was just be lifetime, I guess.
But it's a question mark.
Yeah.
It's a big old question mark. They've tried Botox, nerve blocks, every medication. They've even put me on medication for epilepsy to see if that would help, because apparently some epileptic medication can help with headaches.
Mm.
Nothing. So we're kind of at the road where we've tried everything that we could possibly try. And so we just got to play it by ear and see how it goes. So in the meantime, I just swim through life and put my smile on. I call it my mask and just I press through. People will look at me and they'll say, I don't understand how you can do it. And I said, you adapt. You think about someone that's lost their arm or their leg, how do they still function? They learn that they got to. They figure out ways to make it work for them.
Yeah. Is that the only problems you have? You have other challenges besides just the headaches?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
major challenges. Short-term memory. There were days in the very beginning where I would say, "Hey, Sheila, my wife," I said, "Sheila, what do you want for breakfast?" And she'd look at me and she'd say, "You made breakfast an hour ago." So I would have no idea that that's what happened.
Mm.
So a lot of cognitive therapy has helped. We've figured out it's about a 2 week span that I can retain, but after that, it's completely gone. So, we've had challenges where I've one time came home and I said, I ran into your aunt and I kept yelling her name and she was ignoring me. And she looks at me and she goes, Aunt Gail died 2 years ago. Oh, that makes sense why the lady wasn't responding to me. She's probably thinking, what's this idiot yelling? Gail, Gail.
Right, right.
So one workaround we have found is I keep a stack and it's over in the corner. I'm not gonna grab it, but when you go to funerals and you get the little flyers with their face on it,
Yeah.
I have a stack of those that I just keep on my desk. So I periodically will pick it up and look through it because whenever I would find out that Uncle Henry or Aunt Georgia died, you would relive that mourning process all over again.
Mm.
So then I finally one day I said, you know what? It doesn't matter. It does, but it doesn't because in my head they're still alive. So why am I going to mourn it because I'm in my life they're still alive. So I go with it.
Interesting. So as of right now, most of those people you consider alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what do? You look at those cards and that just tells you that they passed, even though you're not thinking about them?
Hmm. Yeah, I don't do it daily because
Hmm.
I think that would be morbid and It'd be like, why am I torturing myself?
Yeah.
So periodically I'll pull them out and I'll think, I wonder if so and so is still alive. And I'll look at them like, oh yeah, I didn't know they were gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you mourn again.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just try to go with it
Right.
best I can.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
what else what else do you experience?
Oh, the anxiety. You
Okay.
you get a lot of anxiety because when there's a lot of people around you, it just feels like you're being smothered. So like grocery shopping, we go early in the morning or late in the evening when there's hardly anyone in the store. So that's a good workaround that I have found. Um, depression is so real when you have a brain injury. Um, the suicide rate with brain injury is so high.
Hmm.
And I didn't realize that until I went through it because there was so many nights that you just lay in bed and you're like, why am I putting myself through this? Why am I living this life day after day? And, I'm not going to remember tomorrow or I'm not going to remember yesterday. All I'm going to do is suffer. And I had a really bad stutter. So a lot of therapy helps. So that's the first thing I tell people that comes to me and they'll say, my daughter just had a brain injury. What's some good advice? And I always say, get them into therapy, get them into support groups. Because when you have this, if you think about it, how often do you hear people bring up the subject of a brain injury?
They don't.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the invisible injury because if you have a broken arm, you got a sling. People
Hmm.
see that and they have compassion for you for that. But whenever you have a brain injury, and a lot of times when they find out, they'll say, well, you look so good. Well, that is so insulting to someone with a brain injury. Of course, I look good. I look like me, but you can't
Right.
see what's going on the inside.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Huh. Wow. So I mean, these are challenges you're still dealing with, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And did you have that thought of suicide along for you along the path? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Early on, I did. I planned many nights. I planned this is how I'm going to do it tomorrow because I wanted to do the least painful way to get myself out of misery.
Hmm. And what changed? What changed you from not doing that? And now you're podcasting and you're doing all this stuff to get it out there now.
Yeah. Well, I kept looking on YouTube. I kept thinking because one thing that also comes with this is sleep deprivation.
Mm.
And I have found that in our inner circle that people either sleep all the time or they get very little sleep. And I'm the very little sleep guy. 2 hours is not out of the ordinary for me at night. My average is about four. But I would lay there early on and I would just look for information about brain injuries on YouTube. And all I kept coming up with was um, medical doctors saying this is what it's like to have a brain injury. Well, no crap. I'm living with a brain. I want to hear people who are living this. I want to know what they're experiencing, how they feel. And then I would go to my counselor and I'd say, I don't find anything what I'm looking for. And I described it to her and she just looked at me one day. She says, Rob, then you do it. And I'm like, wow, me? I'm not a podcaster. I've never even uploaded a video to YouTube. I don't know how to do that. So,
Hmm.
so like, yeah, I'm gonna give it a try.
And
So
here you
that's when it
are.
all birthed. Yeah.
Yeah. So going back to like you were just scrolling through things and checking things out, do you find that to be something that is good in a sense for, somebody that has a brain injury to go through all this stuff or bad because you might be thinking totally different then? Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I
Okay.
think it's a good thing. And I can verify that because I've started an online support group and these people, the common thread that they all say is it feels great to be with people, even though we're not in the same room,
Hmm.
that are like-minded. They understand me because you can tell your spouse, I'm having a really bad TBI day, and your spouse usually gets it, but maybe your brother or your or your uncle or your father, they're not going to get it. They're like, oh yeah, you whatever, and they just kind of brush it off. But they don't live with it. They don't see the struggles that the person goes through. So when you're with people, you have your little community, you can even there's a lot of times we don't even talk about brain injuries, but it's just that community.
About how many people do you have in that community you have?
In the online support group, we have
Mhm.
about 1, 2, which that's another thing. My numbers 1 through 9's perfect. After that, it's 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, and I've had that since early on. But we meet every week, and if one of us is not there, we miss them, and
Mhm.
they miss us, and it's like family. And then I started a support group, online support group in Facebook. It's not like virtual, and we have 2,000 members in that.
Wow. Good.
Yeah.
Now, what do you do in there? It's a support group. So is it somebody that has problems comes to you guys
Mhm.
and you just talk about it?
Oh yeah, it's everything. Anybody would can post. The great thing about it is they will post projects they're passionate about. We have one
Mhm.
guy in there that's a really great painter, and I had him on my podcast. And I kept seeing these paintings he was posting. He was showing people that this is some way that he deals um with his energy and trying to therapy is what I'm trying to find. And I was like, wow, yes, you're an awesome person. Come on and talk about this, let other people know because there could be people out there that don't realize that they can paint, you know, and that's sometimes brain injuries take things away from you, and sometimes they give you things that you had no idea you had. We have a lot of artistic people in there that they had no idea they were artistic.
Mm.
Like for me, I play piano by ear, and I've always played in one chord. Well, after the brain injury, I can play in three chords. And I'm like, wow, how did this happen?
Interesting. It kind of heightened your senses in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I never heard that. I'll be honest with you. Talking to you, I would think you're the first one I ever talked to with a brain injury, probably for the simple fact that I wouldn't even know if I was walking by somebody in
Right.
public, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you are just a normal looking person,
Yeah.
as we would think, and it's not like you said before, not knowing what's going on upstairs in your head.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's amazing, I guess, what bad and good it could do for you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any other examples of stuff being good that you remember
The good
for
stuff.
yourself or somebody else that might have shared?
Oh, that might have shared. Oh gosh, there's a lot of people that's written books because of this, and they're not all brain injury books. There's a
Hmm.
lot. If you go on Amazon or just Google books, there's millions of books out there. I mean, think about the last time you were in a library that you came across a book on brain injuries. No one's looking for it. But people are writing their stories down, and that's a therapeutic way for them to get it out. And it's just the talents is unlimited. And another thing that people post in their just in our support group, they'll say, "Hey, I'm having a really bad day," and it's within seconds. There's millions of replies. What's going on? What? And then it's just a lot of back and forth. And one thing that you have to be cautious of when you're in a group like that is sadly there are scammers that like to filter in. So myself and the person that runs the group with me, we are very vigilant about making sure that the person is associated with a brain injury of some kind. I'll look at their profile and I'll see if they've posted anything about brain injuries, or if they've got 9 friends.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And you just joined Facebook last week. I don't think you are going to be the person for this group. So,
Right. Exactly.
so we really try to filter that hard so we can protect everybody because that's the thing. Um, with me, comprehension went out the door. Jokes go over my head.
Mm.
Sarcasm goes over my head. So anytime my wife is with me and someone's sarcastic with me, she'll say, "Hey, they're being sarcastic with you," because
Gotcha.
I'll take them. at face value what they're saying.
So it's like you're ready to fight them if they say something that you think is mean, right? But it's really not.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I
All
remember
right.
one time, um, somebody I was trimming trees and somebody drove by and they said, "Hey, when you're done, come to my house and do my trees." And I said, "Okay."
Uh-huh.
And then they drove off, and I told Sheila, I said, "They didn't even give me their address." And she goes, "Rob, they're being sarcastic with you."
All right.
But this, if they would have told me where they lived, they would have
If
come home and
you-
had shrubs trimmed and tree.
Now I know who to talk to.
Yeah, just call me.
That's right. Oh my gosh. Well, you shared how some people are starting in their own books and stuff, and I know you started one and
Yeah.
or you published it. And so, what is that book about?
Well, that book's not just about brain injury because when I sat down to write it, all of these traumas that I've lived through was amazing that just kept flowing in my head. And I'm like, wow, this would make a great book too. And I thought, wait a minute, this book is about a brain trauma. Why can't I write, different chapters about the things that I've survived through and how I've gotten through them?
Mhm.
So I thought, it can be something that can be for brain injury survivors and also people that maybe has had bullies, um, child molestation, sadly, things like that. So that's, and it's the lady that published my book, she is a genius. I thought, how am I going to do this? Because I gave her the idea. She goes, I think it's a great idea. She said, you'll be also educating people who doesn't have a brain injury, who may have felt dealt with bullies all their life, but they'll learn about brain injuries as well as other things. So, I mean, the key to it is to getting help and learning how to deal with trauma.
So, trauma all in general.
Yeah,
Right. Okay.
yeah,
All right. So it's more geared like, hey, this is my story. This is me going through brain injury. And that you would consider your trauma,
yeah,
correct? And then so other people can read this and they can understand, okay, this is how Rob got through his trauma. I can get
right,
through mine too, either the avenue that you took or somebody else's.
right.
Okay. Awesome. And what's the name of the book again?
It's called My Life Rewired, and then it's called Healing Childhood Traumas and Finding Purpose Post Traumatic Brain Injury. So
Cool.
basically, the book tells about how I overcame. Well, I'm still overcoming, but I mean, I think trauma is something that you always deal with. You
Hmm.
just learn how to tame the beast, so to speak.
Yeah.
But then I told how I started the podcast, and I even put some really interesting podcast stories in the book as well. And and I was going somewhere with that, and I've already forgotten. And that's another thing with brain injury, you get sidetracked so
It's okay.
easily. If you think ADHD is bad, get a brain injury.
Well, I say if you ever want to lose weight, go through a divorce. You know what I mean? So it's all
True,
good.
true.
um, no, yes. So the book can help anybody that's dealt with any kind of trauma. And so
Right.
so that book kind of was that first or second of your podcast?
The book came second,
Okay.
and that's kind of funny because I love to read,
Hmm.
and after the brain injury, I tried to read, and it took me so long. I was like, I can't, I just can't. So for 3 years, I'd never picked up a book. And then I had a lady on my podcast, and she was an author, and I thought, if this lady can write a book, the least I can do is try to read it and skim through it so I know what I'm talking about when I interview her. And I just kept reading and reading and reading. I'm like, wow. So I thanked her over and over again for um, helping me find my love of books again. And I told her, I said, I've always wanted to write a book. And I said, I'm not a writer. And she says, you should write it. She begged me. She says, write your story. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then I would just here and there just kind of shot a couple of notes down. And then one night I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. So my memory of what happened to me on was like very vague. But thankfully, I kept lots of notes to refer back to be able to write my story. And my wife was filled in all of the things that I didn't write about. So That was great too.
That's great.
And then the genius thing is, and it came full circle too, because the day after I finished writing my manuscript, the lady that gave me my love of books back and encouraged me to write the story, she said, "Hey, there's this other lady in our one of the support groups that I was in. She goes, she wrote just published a book. She says you should have her on your podcast." I said, "Okay, I'll have her on." After the podcast was over and we were waiting for everything to upload, I just, in general, I said, "Hey," I said, "I have a question for you." I said, "I just finished my manuscript." I said, "Who did you publish your book through?" And she goes, "I'll give you the lady's name." She says, "Let me," she sent it to me. She goes, "I'll tell her to expect your call." I'm like, okay, this is pretty awesome because how everything just meshed right
Hmm.
together, that was just amazing. And yeah, she was amazing. And not only that, after the book was published, she said, "You need a website." I'm like, I have no idea how to do a website. I'm too good to tie my shoes. So she goes, "If you want it, I'll help you build it." So I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And I said, "Now, if we do this, I want resources on there because that was important to me. Anybody that gets a brain injury, here I am 5 years later, and I still find a resource that I had no idea was available to a survivor." And I said, "I want everything listed in one place so people don't have to recreate the will."
Hmm.
And I'm still getting emails all the time. "Thanks for putting that resource out there. I had no idea I could qualify for XYZ."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's amazing.
Now, you said resources, are these like government funded or something like that?
Some are government funded, some are like nonprofit.
Hmm.
One thing that I was amazed at, and I couldn't believe that no one, I mean, when you leave the hospital, they don't tell you anything. You're on your own. You go home, they say, rest a few days, go back to work when you feel like it. The worst advice you could ever give anybody with a brain injury. Um, but one resource was available is called JAN, JAN, which
Okay.
is the Job Accommodation Network. And they help people after their brain injury or pretty much any disability. It doesn't have to be just a brain injury, but it's askjan.org. And they help you kind of, they're kind of like a go between you and your employer
Hmm.
to help you. They'll say, what does Rob need to be able to do his job? So they're like an advocate for you. So then they will speak to your employer, say, this person's disabled. All they need is a widescreen monitor to be able to do their job, or breaks every 2 hours. Just
Okay.
could be something simple like that. But they're your advocate to help you to be able to continue working.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how long till you found it? Yeah. Sorry. How long was it till you found that?
Last year.
Okay. And it's
Yeah.
been how many years? I forget.
It'll be 5 years.
5. Okay.
Actually, on Monday, it'll be five
Yeah.
years.
How about that?
Yeah. And I thought, if I don't know about that, who else doesn't know about that?
Right.
There's another organization, and it's escaping my mind at the moment, but they have a camp for survivors. And all they ask you to do is to try. You don't have to, but to try to raise half of the funds
Mhm.
to go to the camp. It's completely free. If you can't even raise a dime, they'll still take you. But the camp is for you to go and be with other survivors. They feed you nutritious meals that are brain healthy. They have classes on navigating your new life. And I mean, here I was, it was probably about 3.5, 4 years before I learned about that. I'm like, why are all these resources that are helpful to brain injury survivors, why are they such a well-known secret? So,
Yeah.
and the great thing too is it's the website was initially just for my book, but I guess because people are going there to look at the book and they're seeing the resources, I'm having people reach out to me all the time saying, "Hey, I have this resource that would be great for your website. I have one this just today." And it's a nursing program that they help people to go through nursing school to be a nurse that they want to be.
Hmm.
I'm like, who knew that was out there? But
Yeah,
just
really.
because someone came across it on a website, they're like, "I'm going to let this guy know that this is available."
That's good. That's awesome that they're actually reaching out to you saying, here,
Yeah.
here's a good resource. That's cool. Um, so you have a podcast too. Let's just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
And so what was your podcast about?
The podcast is about brain injuries. It's to educate people of
Mhm.
what a brain injury is about. But the biggest picture is it's for survivors to come on and tell their stories, for caregivers to come on and give their side too. So, and the caregivers, don't get me started. They are the unsung heroes. They, and what people don't realize on with a caregiver is they think, oh, that's nice. You help so and so out. No, you're living two lives as one. You are you're thinking for the other person. You know, my wife has to constantly watch over me, and I don't realize she's doing it, but she's protecting me a lot. One day she came in the room and I was talking on the phone,
Mhm.
and she goes, "Who are you talking to?" And thankfully I had on a speakerphone. And it was a scammer. I fell for it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have fallen for it before my brain injury. So I have notes you can't see because of where the camera's on my screen. I have notes. So anything financial, if it's $1, ask Sheila about advice for anything I'm unsure of. It's over $1.
Okay.
So I've learned that she's doing a lot behind the scenes that I don't even realize.
Yeah. Sounds like it. That's good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you have caregivers, you have people that went through that have a brain injury.
Uh-huh.
That's awesome. And
And
so,
even professionals on I have on there
okay.
too. Uh, I've had psychiatrists on there. I've actually had the people from Ask Jan on there
Mm.
because when I found out that no one knew about them, I said, "Come on, let's promote you guys."
Yeah, let's talk about this that nobody
Yeah.
knows about you. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about it? And so how long have you been doing that?
It'll be 2 years in December.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just talked to someone. Oh, you might have seen it. It just came out this past week from New Zealand.
Okay.
People from all around the world are reaching out to me. I've talked to people in Australia, um, countries I can't even pronounce or remember off the top of my head.
Right.
But yeah, it's great to be able let people tell their stories.
Yeah, it's a good outlet.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Yeah. Um, it's also a way to, I guess you could relieve stress, anxiety, depression, or whatever, just sharing your
Oh yeah.
story, right? So others are hearing you and you know, you are happy that you get to say whatever you want to say and nobody's
Mhm.
judging you in any way. So yeah, and I share that because I get the same thing with on my podcast, right? It's just an open book in a sense. The right
Yeah.
people. You have to have the right people. And
True.
I'm sure you have the right people. You have a totally different audience. You have a totally different genre in a sense that you know what your style is all about. So I commend you for starting and keep going. And you know, I'm sure it was difficult in the beginning to get started. And now you
Mhm.
remember how to do things, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Do you keep notes and stuff like that too for, you know, how to do things if you forget?
Yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah. I
Okay.
have to.
Gotcha.
The
Yeah.
editing I'm really good at because I did it for a long time before. It was a hobby of mine.
Mhm.
Um, Out of high school, I was asked to be an announcer. And I'm like, sure. And then I found out I had to travel. I was like, no. So television production, it's always been part of me. And then I actually had a part-time job. Right before me and my wife got married, I worked at PBS, the public broadcasting
Yeah.
station. I did that master control for a while. And
Okay.
it blows my wife's mind because she goes, you can tear down a control room and put it back together, but you don't know how to put a contact in your phone. I just don't understand it.
Is that before the brain injury?
That was before the brain
Okay. All
injury.
right. Wow. Hey, some people are really good at what they love and they're passionate about. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, and it sounds like that was you. And you're just like, I'm
Oh
focused
yeah.
on this. Yeah. Um, Rob, what's the best way for people to find your podcast, reach out to you, your book, and your resources?
Sure. Probably the best way to find it is to go to myliferewired.com. That's pretty much everything I've got my hands on is on that. But if you just want the podcast alone, We're on Spotify, Amazon Music, all those. But our main outlet is the YouTube channel and just My Life Rewired, the brain injury podcast.
Nice. I appreciate
Yeah,
it. So I have one question I ask every guest, and
sure.
I don't think you listened to it because you couldn't find my podcast, it sounds like. But so this is a surprise for you. Um, what are three key things you've learned and used along your journey?
Three things that I learned. Well, one key thing that I've learned is to trust what my wife says.
Okay.
Before the brain injury, I thought I knew it all. But the sad thing is, this woman is never wrong. But you never, but I still think I know better than her.
Hmm.
So that's one thing is to learn how to trust, um, and to relax. I was a person that didn't stop. My wife had to constantly say, Rob, sit down, take a break. I had no off switch. So I found my off switch, or actually, it found me. The third thing I've learned, oh, patience. I have so much more patience now than I used to have. And and on the other side of the token, there's days that my patience is like paper thin,
Hmm.
depending on how good or bad a day I'm having. But I've become very patient.
That's great. Yeah, and would you say that all of them came from after? I mean, you mentioned trust, so I would imagine that was, a little bit before and after, but
Yeah,
they all came after your brain injury.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So brain injuries doesn't. I don't want people to think that when you get a brain injury that your life is over,
Right.
because it's not. It is if you let it. But I decided from day one, you sink or swim. You really do. And I'm not a sinker.
Yeah, as you can tell, you're right here sharing everything. So it's just a challenge, something for
Yeah,
somebody to get through, and you have a light at the end of the tunnel saying,
yeah,
"Come this way, follow me, listen to me,"
right,
and people get out of it, or at least get better, right? So,
right.
Rob, I appreciate you doing everything that you're doing. So continue to podcast, continue your. I'm sure this ain't the only book you're gonna print. Um, and I know you have a lot of big things coming up. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.